All right, back with AMX over here on our Twitch, YouTube, global platforms. I say hello to everybody, wherever you are. If it is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, it's always a different time zone in the globe. So welcome to this AMX broadcast. I'm Lorenzo Bonder. I'm with. It's going to be interesting for me to say. We were talking prior to the broadcast even started. 3 years in the making. We haven't done any broadcast together. Somil Aurora over here to my left. So Somil, we have a doubleheader of GR86 at Laguna Seca, TCRs after for AMX 10 and Nurburgring, and two tracks that I think for these cars they mix well together. But first we start with the AMX 10 at Laguna Seca, and I gotta say I love the track, and then for these cars they are perfect in my opinion.
Yeah, the band is back together, and it can't be a better track and car combination for that. I mean, Laguna Seca, that is a place where you end up going racing, and especially with the cars that we've got today. I mean, we've got a bit of a mix, right? We're racing with the GR86 and then also with the TCRs later on. And it's basically light car territory today. We are going to have so much chaos all the way through. And if all of the previous races with these cars are anything to go by across all the categories, one thing's for sure, Lorenzo, there is going to be chaos. Absolutely, there is going to be.
No, 100%. And I think it's more interesting right now that we know the GR86 now is, for those who don't know, right? For those who are coming, before we go to the housekeeping, GR86 is actually officially supported by SRO. Not only that, and also supported by iRacing. They have the Toyota North America GR86 Cup. They just had the first round at Sonoma a few days ago, so it's going to be interesting to see that track in the future bed in Laguna Seca when they come down over there. So it's going to be pretty exciting. But before we talk more about GR86, I'll leave that up to you in Laguna Seca as well. So Mo, let's have some housekeeping first and talk about those over here at AMX. So round season 4, we're at week 10 from January 27th to April 21st. So we're about 12 days short of our final round, of our final race at AMX total. The prize pool is about $20,000 plus next level gear. Most races in here in a variety of car and champ combos. For GR86, this is an iRacing. The format is a little bit different than you see in Assetto Corsa when we have the races there. Is to qualify is 20 minutes. Then the top 15 have a reverse grid. First heat is 20 minutes, give or take. Over here is going to be 12 laps, and then reverse again for a second heat of 20 minutes or 12 laps. Driver cams is required not only in AMX 10 and also here at AMX1. You're going to have joined via our link on AMX Discord and website. The payout are in balances of $100 paid out in each month. And in AMX, regardless if it is AMX1 or AMX10, we have races every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can sign up at any time at amxrace.com. And what is the schedule? You would say 5:50 p.m. GMT is the schedule for AMX1, 7:20 for p.m. GMT for AMX10. Doesn't matter which day. If it is Tuesday, Saturday, or Sunday, the schedule is pretty much all the same. All right, and there's the prize pool you're gonna see at AMX1. For the GR86 and iRacing, you're going to have the quali. It's paid out. First place is going to get $7. Second place, $5. Third, fourth, and fifth. And then backwards is increments of first 50 cents, then increments of 20 cents, all the way down to 15. Reverse top 15, same amount of payments, for all the drivers in all places, up to 15th place, and the fastest lap gets $1. And the total per race you can get is $100. Give or take is paid out to everybody. Max you can have over here is about $22 if you do everything right. And now you have the top 12 with Diego Villarreal De Leon, for SRAT Esports in first place. Durago with a good performance, I think, on is actually in second place. Mauricio Lozano in third. Loa Rainier is in third place. Connor Healy was the leader, but fell back a few spots. Now is finding himself in P5. Gerardo Ramos in sixth. Simone Seminara with the win. Last time Body had an ACC, jumped up to 7th place. Lautaro Gayoso, Lucas Verle, Leo Mora, Santiago Barrios, and Nico Godoy are your top 12. And there you have the AMX Light Top 10 that Gerardo Ramos is in second place, Diego Villarreal in third, Daniel Antunes, Zevi Pla, Pablo Mercerad, Renato Paja, Nico Godoy, Jacoba Lopez in ninth place, Adam Vasquez for Drago in 10th place, and if I recall correctly, your P1 is Mauricio Lozano for the time being. So, I think I did a lot of talking. So, Mil, you've been called Karun Chandok of, sim racing many times. I think I should let you have this one. Talk about GR86 in Laguna Seca.
Let's start off by talking about the Laguna Seca circuit. And what can you say about this place, apart from the fact that it happens to be one of the world's most technical and one of the world's most beautiful circuits? And it's not because of the visuals, it's because of how you feel while driving it. And it's got so many iconic corners. When you head down at turn number 1, the Andretti hairpin will play home to so many amazing moves. And then you've got this technical section in the middle, which eventually ends up with probably the most daunting corner in all of motorsport, which has to be the corkscrew. Legends have been made at this very circuit, and we are so lucky that not only do we get to experience it virtually in the world of iRacing, we also get to race other top drivers right here. And luckily for us, Lorenzo, we get to watch so many top racers compete for some really significant cash prizes when you consider how much they're paying just to enter. So the competition will definitely be quite fun at Laguna Seca. And the best part is, when you have a technical circuit like Laguna Seca, you also need a car to make it fun, to make it enjoyable, probably not the most serious, and which is why we have the Toyota GR86. And I love this car. It's kind of like the boys going back to play tag once again together. Get rid of all the complicated games like your Fortnite or your iRacing or whatever it might be. Get back to the basics, and that's what the GR86 is all about. I wouldn't say the very beginning of every single racer's story on iRacing, but the second best option, of course, after the Yamaha's the MX-5s. And so this particular car, very bare bones, very basic for all the drivers, taking them back to what they originally have learned to do as racers, which is focus so much on the very fundamentals: braking, acceleration at the right time, making sure that the car rolls properly heading into a corner. These are the things that you need to keep in mind with this car. And for us, Lorenzo, a good thing is that this thing is properly sturdy. You bang it and it won't break as much, which means that there will be chaos for sure. But it also means that even though the lap times might be slow, but the competition will be very intense, that's for sure.
Absolutely, Somo. Thank you so much. And I think we talked about the cars and technicality so much. And let's take it to the track. Let's break down the qualifying. I think they're still doing a few laps around the track. Like I said, 20 minutes is the qualifying time for everybody. And just as you mentioned, right, Somo, around the corkscrew, really not the hardest corner per se, right, for you to come down. It isn't the most challenging, but I would say most daunting just because of, its uniqueness. Tracks try to mimic sometimes around the world. We've seen that Coda, but they have it upwards. Yep. Barber kind of have it downwards, but it's a little bit of a different scenario because Barber is right-hand side, then left-hand side instead of left-hand side, right-hand side. But it's very unique of sorts. As we see Mauricio Lozano's for a fast lap right now, give a little bit of a leeway for the guy ahead of him. And you know what's criminal, in my opinion, Somo? I know they, like I said, the Toyota GR80 Cup North America, they have the esports in 2024. It is a support series for SRO when they do GT America, but they haven't raced they don't race actually in Laguna Seca this season. I think they ran maybe 2022 or 2023. But what impresses me is the fact that you have no cars in real life driving over there. But nevertheless, it's a good combination because the Mazdas are actually a good combination over here.
Yeah, it's a shame they don't do it in real life. I mean, just watching the onboards tells you how much fun it must be. Just experiencing the body roll at these corners is going to be so much fun, like we're seeing right now with Maurizio Lozano as well. And sure, in the simulator, you can't quite tell as much about those things, but just the sheer basicness or the rawness of this car will be so much fun. And now coming into the corkscrew, watch how much the car just dangles and moves as much under braking as well. This will make it fun, because normally in the world of iRacing, if you're competing like these guys are, what will you be doing? Lots of GT3s, lots of cup car racing, perhaps some TCRs here and there, which, by the way, is also going to be on the menu for later today. But just to then return to the car where you've actually started all of an entire sim racing journey, that is interesting. And by the way, look at the competition, look at their iRating. These are not rookies. You're not seeing anyone who's just begun their iRacing journey as here to compete. Lots of drivers with some really high iRating are a part of this grid. So for them to get back to one of the earlier, more fundamental cars of this entire simulator is going to be quite a fun experience as they have to tackle this, I wouldn't call it a beast, but just such a light and nimble fun machine. And the best part is, it takes a lot out of you. I mean, look at all the onboard cameras of all the drivers. Even though this might be a slower car or one that doesn't quite get into a corner with as much pinpoint accuracy, the level of concentration you need just to make sure that everything is precise teaches you so much that you will eventually end up using in all of those bigger cars.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look into a Copa Lopez lap, trying to maximize the usage of the track. A day, like, for those who are old into sim racing, I know Solman is a young guy, but he's been around for sim racing for a little bit, like myself, which is insane to think about. I call him the king of the skippies. If you don't know Ade Coba Lopez, he used to, back when they had skippy barber leagues, this guy used to be fighting for championships every single time. Like, his 9K iRating basically was built around skip barbers and these low cars of sorts. He drives a lot the GR86 nowadays, so it's not surprising to see the Spaniard at top of the board for Simify Esports. Now we're looking to Gerardo Ramos' lap right now, going right hand side, and one of the other interesting facts over here as well, Samo, into Moreno's lap, is there's the aspect of somebody using 3 screens, triple screens, someone using single screens. But we also have the option for VRs. They are a valuable option nowadays, even though they don't use it at the top level.
Yeah, I wonder how do the drivers actually manage with VR, because it seems like, at least for someone like me, quite a mental task to do it. But then again, that sort of explains why my rating is still under the thousands anyway. So don't count me for advice and stuff like that. But I'd love to know how they do it. It just seems like such a technical task. And for a track like Laguna Seca, for a corner like the corkscrew that we just witnessed, that might be something to experience on the VR, right, Lorenzo? Have you given it a try once?
I'm gonna admit, it might disappoint you. I'm not a fan of VRs, but not because they're bad and everything. As we look into Gerardo Ramos, final corner, turn number 11 and 12 over here, as he's gonna do a 137 for what it looks like. Not gonna be a massive improvement, but I don't know if that was actually a proper lap from the Spaniard right there. But I haven't tried VR because my eyes don't have which is insane for me to think to say about that. I spend my day on the computer, but the brightness that the VR throws at my face, like so close, my eyes don't adapt with it too well.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge, and then it's good to see some bare basic sim setups as well in terms of the screens, with Miro Ragibi going on his onboard camera as well to showcase what it looks like. And I love the diversity that we have on the grid in terms of sim setups, in terms of screens, in terms of iRating as well. But eventually, the grid, it is having a bit of a mid-pack quite firmly. We are seeing many drivers stuck up in that 1 minute 36 mark. And for sure, Adair Lopez is quite clearly in a different league of his own, along with Maurizio Lozano. But in the background there, the fight that we're getting to see from P5 onwards, I get a feeling that this mid-pack will create so much of entertainment in the heats that we're going to see beginning in just a few minutes' time. So there's already a sense of excitement, and the fight in the top three as well. That gap does not seem real to me, Lorenzo. I mean, just in a 20-minute qualifying session, the fact that they're all within a tenth, that's nice. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. I'm surprised to see as well. I'm more surprised. All right, I'm going to have to put Bruno over here because, like, I know Bruno. I've met Bruno in person. I've raced against him, I think, 1,000 times. By the way, nice livery on the SAR. Just a quick asterisk over here. Nice livery from the SART sim racing team. You know, I think that's the best livery they have in comparison to their TCRs and everything. Mainly a team that does TCRs, that does a little bit of Indy cars here and there, but I gotta pick on Bruno. Bruno, I love you to death, man. Really nice guy. Does a PR for Tony Canon and his team, the Delinte esports team. In his real life, whenever Tony's doing his promotions on his YouTube channel, sometimes when he does stuff for McLaren, Aero, SP team, Indy cars, and also F1 from time to time here and there. But being in fourth place is a little bit weird for me to see Bruno. I would normally say Bruno would be fighting for the top spot, but then again, it's not his car. It's more GT3s, but then again, I have to poke it a little bit of fun at Bruno. We look at Miro Rigibi right here, finalizing his lap. I don't think there's going to be a massive improvement here, Somo. And it's funny to talk about. Laguna Seca doesn't have a hard corners, you know, but I think the flow off the track, because you're going from a normal flat portion to a high to the climb of the mountain and all the way down into corkscrew, and then you go to rainy, makes the flow of the track for you to get that perfect lap, for you to, you know, be consistent with fast laps, do those 35s, 36 lows. So I envy the guys who try to do this challenge.
Yeah, you're kind of right about this. Laguna Seca, sure, people remember it for the corkscrew, but as you mentioned earlier on, it's not that challenging as a corner. I'm not saying that I can ace it, but quite clearly, there are other corners that need a lot more individual effort. It's more about momentum and the flow that you need at this particular circuit, that is Laguna Seca. And one minor mistake, right? Not having the best possible entry into one corner, or the best possible exit out of one particular corner, can end up losing you so much time. And in particular, in this section that we are going to see right now, when we see Miro Rigibi take this left-hander at turn number 5, he needs a brilliant exit, because coming all the way through till the corkscrew, you need such a good run. And this next corner, right, turn number 6, heading onto the Rahal Straight, it matters a ton. You've got to make sure that the turn-in happens at the right point, and the lift is as minor as it possibly can be, as it was in this case as well. So it's nice to see the drivers being fully committed. But you're right, it's more about the rhythm and momentum that you carry all the way through. And then, oh, what a sight it is. It feels special every single time the corkscrew, doesn't it?
It does, it does. And like I said, not the hardest track for you to nail, not the hardest corner for you to nail, you know, the entry and things like that, because the hardest part for you to get the braking right and then turn to turn number 1 appropriately and carry the speed into turn number 1 into the right-hand side of the corner. I think time has about run up on everybody, and from what it looks like, Adair Global Lopez for Simify Esports is going to be our guy that sits at the top of the standings, putting pressure on everybody else to catch up to Adair Global Lopez. So you see session BNQ session winner for Adair Global Lopez is in first place. Mauricio Lozano is in second. Gerardo Ramos in third. Bruno do Carmo in fourth. Ramon Pascucci in fifth. Diego Villarreal de Leon in sixth. Evandro Donta seventh. Martin Chico in eighth. Daniel Moreno, ninth place. Nico Godoy, 10th. Renato Parra, Juho Checo Sopanen, and Miro Rigibi are your 13 drivers around the track. And Somil, I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't think we're going to see mainly a big fight on at the front of the pack, but mid pack, I think it's where our action is going to be 100%.
And by the way, folks, we are going to have a standing start. I mean, that is going to be normally with these cars, the rolling start is the better option because it allows the drivers to be more sane. But with the static start, just watching firstly these cars get to the first corner is going to be a task in itself. And amidst all of that, they have to make sure that they A, gain as many positions as they can, and B, end up surviving. This first lap, Lorenzo, is, what's the word we're going to use for it? Chaotic? Crazy? Well, what comes to your mind first?
Chaotic. Always chaotic. Laguna Seca is always chaotic. Alright, here after the roar of the engines, we're going to have green flag. Here we go. Green flag all the way. And Peter will give you what an awful start, but more so, apparently Juho Sopinen had a bad start as well. Kind of crumpled up 3 wide, 4 wide at the back. Going to turn them more, and a little bit of contact between the drivers. Somehow, someway, they survived the ordeal. Going to turn them more and going to the Andrade hairpin. Still some guys going side by side. There's a little bit of a spun. Apparently, that is Nico Godoy and Bruno De Carmo out. And apparently, Dave Lopez was one who had done one of the spins. I don't know if it's going to be accrued a penalty right there. But nevertheless, still a lot of race. And now for Gibby's, the thing is try to break away the best we can because the Sharks are coming.
Absolutely. And for Akibi right now, he has Diogo Villarreal right at the back of his car. And it's going to be a tricky spot to attack. But look at this, Villarreal, clearly in a mood to get going. Remember, this race isn't quite the longest, only 12 laps. And here comes Villarreal down the inside of the corkscrew. No way he's going to execute that.
Yeah, we've seen the overtake from Zanardi back in 1995, and he actually is able to do that overtake. And Regibi, I think, with a slowdown right at the exit of the course, he's going to lose the position to Pascucci. He's going to lose to Moreno as well, to Jacob Lopez as well. So, and we see the incident between Para and Godoy. Unfortunate to see that happen, and Praha already out of the race, basically. As you see, Copa Lopez outside lane is for the number 34 of Simify. Doesn't get around the number 10 of Moreno, but it is all a matter of where and when the Simify Esports driver is going to be able to do that move. Andrade Hairpin is calling for an overtake. As we have a move for the lead, Somo Ron Pascucci assumes basically that Villarreal not going to fight too hard and goes for the lead with Martin Chico coming right behind.
So quite clearly, whatever we saw in qualifying means nothing, because if Roman Pascucci can come from all the way back down from P5 all the way up to P1, that says quite a lot about how chaotic the start was, and he's controlling it quite well. The interesting part is Adai Cordoba Lopez is now back down only in P4, and we are riding on board with him as it stands. It's been a bit of a horrible start for him, the way things have gone around, and now you can see the excitement that he possesses in his driving because of the lines he's taking. But there's a mistake. Chico has gone wide. He's under pressure from Villarreal, who's passed him for second, and his P3 slot could be down as well immediately. There it goes.
Yeah, it goes on is they couple up is into third place. So the Simify, the king of the Skippy Barbers, go around one more spot, taking the opportunity of Chico's mistake right there. It kind of opens up the door for Moreno to come in as well and try to do an overtake, but it's not enough for him. Final corner, turn number 11 for everybody. They're going to set themselves out into the main straight as already covered the inside for Villarreal. Lopez is going to have the run on the outside side by side. Our four drivers now. Lopez being pushed by Martin Chico. Chico trying to find a line for a potential overtake on the inside already cooking what Copa Lopez is trying to have on the middle. The Andretti hairpin, there's a little bit of contact, and somehow, Chico avoids a massive spin and keeps it on the track, still in third place.
This is fun. I mean, that's the kind of racing you want on a Tuesday evening. Absolute pandemonium where one person can end up being P4 at the start of the straight and end up finishing that straight in second place. Adai Cordoba Lopez, I mean, this guy is having the time of his life because already he's ended up winning $7 by topping the qualifying session that we had earlier on. and it's going to be another profitable day as it stands, because he ends up taking over $5 if he keeps that position. But that's going to be the nice part. Oh.
Yeah, that was Chico that had a problem right there. Someone is going to lose not one but two spots. Going to try to find on the inside, but it might have caught himself a slowdown. Yeah, he definitely caught a slowdown on the inside of the corkscrew. If there's one thing the corkscrew always has shown us over here, Solo, is that inside line, if you try to go in too deep, it punishes heavily because it is more than a second slowdown that you have to take.
Yep, and quite clearly Chico's momentum is absolutely gone. He is going to be under pressure from 3 cars. Gerardo Ramos and Miro Ragibi are going to be 2 of them. And as it stands, Chico is able to somewhat survive heading into the Andretti hairpin. But then that only depends if we see a crazy move from Ramos in the background as well. Touch wood, that hasn't happened and all the cars have survived. But you are absolutely right about that. That slowdown penalty that you get on the inside line will completely ruin all of your momentum down into the first corner as well. It's like the stewards in iRacing are kind of righting the wrongs for what Valentino Rossi did back in the day against Casey Stoner at this very corner. But it's interesting to see that the server quite clearly penalizes you for even cutting with the smallest of margins, and that makes the racing even more disciplined, which means that the battle between Asuchi and Lopez is going to be one that has to be clean, but also super exciting till the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're looking into the lead. Pascucci already looking slightly concerned against Coba Lopez. That is actually Gerardo Ramos on the cam right there, but it's finished. It's always good to see, nevertheless, the battle on the track. The number 23 doing his best to hold the Series 5 Esports driver around. You know, Rainey managed to do the defense as well, going to turn number 10. Now Coba Lopez is setting himself up for the final corner. A little bit of a better run, or a cleaner run for the number 24. As now you can see Coba Lopez, relaxed, looking, what can he do with the car, trying to find himself the right lines. Will he make the move on turn number 1? Slightly covered by Pascucci, as Coba Lopez will have to, fend off the brakes a little bit and wait a few more spots on the track for him to do that overtake. Is it going to open up on number 3? Doesn't look like it, Somo.
Nope, not quite. And Lopez is hot on his tails. It's interesting watching all of his lines, how he's consistently trying to just put the car on the inside, kind of remind Pascucci that he's there, and waiting for one mistake before he can just grab hold of P1 and make it his own. But in the meantime, while these guys have been squabbling up against each other, one of our top competitors, Diego Villarreal, has dropped back down to P10. He was running somewhere in the mid-pack, so it's kind of insane how he's dropped so many positions and only finds himself not up into P10, back down into P10, which is going to be heartbreaking for him. At least the reverse grid will be fun. But now we should focus back on to that battle for the lead, because it's going to get even spicier from here on.
Yeah, absolutely. Still about 7 laps to go, as 8 laps to go around the track. As you can see the gaps between Pascucci and Lopez, going up and down the sectors, and there's a good fight from Pascucci. Don't get me wrong, because now what happens is make a mistake. There he is, 34 on the inside. He's going to have the advantage coming out of the corner. Pascucci trying to get a really good run on the overtaking spot. He's going to use the draft, but for now, Coba Lopez, he's your leader, Somo. And now they're going to approach on the Andretti hairpin, and Pascucci's going to try to do everything to have that inside line, but Coba Lopez saying otherwise. Oh, not so much.
Almost bump drafting, heading their way into turn number 1. Coba Lopez and Roman Pascucci. My word, these guys are amping up the excitement to another level, making gentle contact with each other before they ended up swapping positions. It's survival at this stage as well for both of them, because they're pushing the edge of their driving to the point where it could almost end up in a gigantic crash. But both these drivers, very smart. They didn't get 9,000 I rating and 7,000 I rating respectively just by crashing into other people. So it's interesting how this battle is playing out, and how these drivers have self-corrected to make sure that they're not just fast but also clean at the same time. But I like it. I like that the battle is not dead yet, and I like that there's more battling in the background, Lorenzo. And it seems like Evandro Dantas is under tremendous pressure from one of your favorites, Bruno De Carmo.
Yeah, so Bruno is gonna try. Carmo, yeah, you got it right. You got it right. But apparently now Dantas cooking himself on the hairpin. He's gonna have the slowdown 100%. The question is, can Bruno make the overtake cleanly? Yes, he can. He's probably gonna lose the spot as well to Miro Rigibi. Miro making that overtake work as well. You can see from his perspective of the cam, as well as now Dantas with a massive statement on the Mexican and not like letting the Miro actually take the place back. I think the slowdown will certainly in due time. Meanwhile, battle for 4th place as Martin Chico is going to lose a spot over here for Moreno, as Moreno is going to have that inside for the number 10. Andretti hairpin kind of eases up a little bit on the outside run. You can have an outside run over here. It's a little bit hard, but for now, Moreno into 4th place.
Nicely done, smoothly executed by Daniel Moreno, and with that, he can now start his journey towards the podium, and it will be a hard one because he has quite a gap to close up to Gerardo Ramos up in P3. It will take a while though, because in terms of the lap times, top 3 are clocking in lap times that are a mile away from everyone else, but it seemed to be a bit of a dirty one for Roman Pascucci on the last lap. So even at the top, there is a bit of chopping and changing in terms of the gaps, and it seems like Adai Lopez is leading with quite a margin at the top. But in that mid-pack, right, the mid-pack that we discussed, it's Martin Chico who's still not left the back of Moreno, even though he got past just a lap ago. So I like the fact that with just 5 laps to go, there are still more battles for us to watch. And as I say that, Adai Lopez has just pulled up another second on Roman Pascucci. How?
That's the magic of, specializing yourself these slow cars, right, Silmo? Once you know your way around them, I think it is just a matter of adaptation, right? Because the Skippies are very slow, right? And the GR86 is a slow car as well, kind of on the same pace as the Mazdas. The GR86, I would say, might be a second here faster than the other car. As we look into Daniel Moreno's exhaust view from looking at Martin Chico getting closer. You can even see Martin Chico's onboard on the right-hand side, right bottom side of your screen, trying to do the best to get closer to his fellow compatriot of Daniel Moreno, but not being able to do the overtake. Now Moreno making a mistake, covering the inside right after the Firestone Bridge. Side by side are both drivers, but doesn't look like Chico is going to be able to do that overtake. Here comes turn number 5 instead, and up the hill he goes. Martin Chico moves up 1 spot.
Smoothly executed there by Chico, and it now seems like Moreno is looking at turn 6 as a viable option to make an overtake, which will never make sense in any dictionary, especially with these GR86 cars. But he's thought otherwise of it, which is a wise decision because there clearly was not any space to go for a move. And using that hesitance that Moreno has, Chico has also ended up pulling in a couple of car lengths worth of a gap, and you can see it visually multiplying as it stands. So fair play to Chico. He saw one opportunity to get ahead, used the vulnerability of Moreno and his denial of making that move on the inside line, which was a wise move, by the way, to end up pull up a gap that seems very, very hard to break down in 1 or 2 laps. But then again, it is Laguna Seca. It is a track where it's so easy to run wide and get one of those slowdown penalties. So no driver can rest on their laurels here. They've got to make sure that they are nice and chill as we see another slide in the background. Man, this is pretty. Ricky in the background with a proper power slide. This is nice.
It's nice. These cars, I would argue, they are nice to drive. They're not easy. I would say they're. I want to say they might be a tad harder than what the masses are. I think the masses, I treat the masses as hard. We're gonna see Rikibi's just hit on lap 7, hit from the back, pit maneuver. I think that was what Nico Godoy that spun him around from what it looks like. couldn't catch the make of the car right there. I think that was Lozano that spun him around, actually, looking for the paint job right in front of him. So Lozano could find himself into trouble over here for AMX1, find himself losing a few spots in terms of dollars and everything. But other than that, we still have a little bit of a race. Still 2-3 more laps to go, as now Copa Lopez going to turn number 11 to close out lap number 9, open up number 10, and the Simify Esports driver, just relaxing. That's what matters for him. It's another relaxing Tuesday drive for, like I said, the king of the Skippy Barber is a driver that you're never gonna see in GT3s, in another car, in iRacing. But if you're going to Skippy's, Mazdas, and GR86, I can definitely say this is his beach. This is bread and butter. So he's gonna, be the cream of the crop when it comes to the racing like this.
And with drivers like Adai Lopez, drivers who are at the top of their game in a particular class, drivers like Max Verstappen as well, it's not just the raw pace that's the most impressive part. It's the way they manage it. Because for context, Adai Lopez clocked in a 1 minute 35.7 in his last lap, which was bettered by one Bruno De Carmo back down into P6. But the best part is the fact that Adai is able to modulate that lap time whenever he wants to. He was clocking in a 1 minute 35.9 the last time out, a 36.1, and he just keeps on getting faster. And when he needs to, he will ease that pace and ease that gap to make sure that he doesn't end up making a mistake at the highest level or at the highest limit of his driving. That's good race management, and that is what we're getting to see from Adai Lopez, who right now has been super clean. No major incident points, nothing to worry about. He survived a good battle with Roman Pascucci. After a point, the best of the very best aren't quite the outright fastest. They're just the drivers who manage to race the best, and that's what's happening with Adai Lopez right now up in P1.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we see the resurgence of Bruno De Carmo going into the inside of Daniel Moreno. And Bruno trying to use a little bit of the side draft, side by side, going into the main straight ahead of himself. Number one, with hairpin, and Bruno just lunging into the corner, makes the move work into P5 as the number 12 of the Linky Esports by TK. So Bruno took a little bit of a while to figure out the car, but I think once he figured out the car, here's Somo finally being able to make moves and break himself into that top 5.
Yeah, and he's consistently faster than almost every single driver ahead of him in terms of the standings. Bruno De Carmo is going to be a proper force to watch for in that second heat that will be beginning in just a few moments' time. He will be starting, let me do my math correctly, P9, which is not bad, which is a decent place to be considering the fact that all the drivers ahead of him, who by the way aren't faster than him, will be starting behind him. So watch out for him in that second heat that's going to be coming up there. If there's one driver I'm going to be betting my money on to get $7, it's probably going to be him.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, we're not doing bets here.
Oh no, I mean you can do bets. I'm not a bet guy. I'm trying to get back into that world. It's just that my bets days, the days I was actually a good bettor are gone. I know I have friends that did that better than myself. But anyway, back to the track. As now Moreno on the charge on the number 12, as the laps are a little bit improved for Bruno. Not the 35 that he did on the last lap, but still a fast lap regardless. And he got the opportunity of Chico making the mistake on the hairpin, moving into P4. And we know that Chico wants that spot back, not just P5, but eventually P4 as well.
And I like the fact that Daniel Moreno has a bit of fight in him. Any normal driver, once they lose this position, they might just end up getting their hands up and saying, right, that's it, I've lost the position, let me focus on my race. But not Daniel Moreno, he's attacking once ahead. And now he seems closer than he has ever been. But interestingly, Chico's in the background, and Chico is off the track. That means that he will end up losing a little bit of time and a little bit of momentum. But at the same time, Daniel Moreno isn't close enough to attack ahead on Bruno De Carmo. What a crazy battle this is turning to be on the last lap of the race.
Absolutely, and every bit of money matters for you. So we're still going to have this on, but meanwhile, into the final corner, I think it's Assetto Lopez might have crossed the line and is going to win race number 1. But we have this battle for P2, get out of the Ramos, committing himself into the inside. Piscucci's going to try to fight and give a little bit of the switch back. They're going to fight side by side. Who's going to take P2? Cobo Lopez already crossed the line, and Gerardo Ramos is going to be your P2, and Roman Piscucci P3. And at the back, Bruno De Carmo P4, and Moreno beats Chico at the line for P5.
Oh, well, Chico kept fighting on till the very end. In the end, it was Daniel Moreno who got that position for P5. But the plaudits have to go to the man in P1, don't they, Lorenzo? Assetto Corsa Lopez winning this race by 7 seconds. That is no joke in a race that's only lasted 12 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. It took a little bit of a while for Cobo Lopez to get there. I think it took about a lap or two. But once he found himself, into single battles and everything, that was just easy, smooth sailing for the Spaniard of Simrify Esports. And naturally, just like I said, bread and butter for him, he breaks away after he gets P1. So we might have the race results in a little bit for you guys to take a look at. But we know that, we just said, Assetto Lopez, or you see, Ben Q session winner is going to be Assetto Lopez right now. Gerardo Ramos P2, Roman Piscucci P3, Bruno De Carmo 4th, Daniel Moreno 5th, Martin Chico, Mauricio Lozano, Evan Dudantas, Diego Villarreal, Miro Gibi are your top 10, Nico Godoy, Yuho Checosopanen, and Renato Paja are your 13 drivers overall. Now we focus into race 2 with the fastest lap being done by Assetto Lopez. And now the grid reverses. We're going to Heat 2 immediately. Over here, most of the cars are lined up. So Mo, you expect pretty much more of the same stuff, right?
We do. And with the reverse grid, it will be Roman Piscucci, Bruno De Carmo, Martin Chico, these drivers right near the back of the grid. This will be fun. And now, Diego Villarreal will be starting 5th. This should be a good race.
Yeah, and Doy actually off in turn number 3 rather than Baca.
Man, this has been a chaotic start, but in the background we are seeing more battles. Lopez sends one down the inside for P4, and does he get it? Of course he does. When Assetto Lopez comes calling, he gets that position and makes it his own. And there's more battling as we head towards the corkscrew section of this particular circuit. But Diego Villarreal, at the very start, he ended up singing a very, very famous rap song from the 1990s. Something that goes along the lines of move, get out the way. He won't say what's in the middle, but Diego Villarreal already seizing the lead before the cars got into the first corner. Man, this guy was aggressive, but it worked out.
Yeah. I went with the cold trick of references. You went with the ludicrous, which was actually just like it is ludicrous. As Gerardo Ramos tried to do the same stuff. Late break for the number 69. A little bit of karting. He gets sent into the outside lane, but manages to do one overtake. Nearly gets 2 done, and everything just kicking off right in the middle as Sopanen tried to defend his position down the inside of turn number 1. But number 69, I think, has a better run. Already covering the inside, coming to the end, ready hairpin.
And watching it right now, it's Dantas trying to go on the inside. That is a properly nasty one. A bump which is probably going to be reviewed by the stewards, and there's more cars off in the background. Chaos everywhere already on lap 2.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a Gibeon Rosena that actually got sent off into the exit of the Andretti hairpin. But meanwhile, looking at the battle for P3, Pascucci, just like last time, is not for the lead, but it's actually for P3 podium. So they're going to look at the incident between Godoy and Dantas. Godoy, turned around by Dantas. Dantas just, unfortunately, not going to say didn't care, but just carried too much speed into the corner, touched the Argentinian around, and nothing he could do over there. The car is not going to save him at all into turn number 3. Back to the track itself, Pascucci still trying to maintain that draft gap to Bruno Di Carmo and Diego Villarreal, which right now he knows that Villarreal is going to be in a massive pain. Bruno already on the outside into turn number 11. Can he make it work? Better run for the Brazilian.
No!
Right contact with Diego. And somehow, some way, there's now 2 wide for 4 places in the main straight coming to turn number 1.
Bruno Di Carmo, how did he survive that around the outside of the final corner? And guess what? He wants to go even more crazy. Around the outside of 2 cars to get the lead, heading into turn number 1. Bruno Di Carmo has just executed something that will blow your minds. To firstly hang around the outside of the final corner and get past 1 car is brave enough, but to then do it around 2 cars at the first corner, oh my goodness, what is this guy? In this Copa America that we've got on for the first 4 positions, this seems to be Bruno Di Carmo's race to lose now with that kind of move.
Nice mention about Copa America, as now the Iberian driver of the Copa Lopez trying to find a spot on the inside, going to turn number 6. Now up the Rejas straight, cannot get it done. You look into the slip. Trying to find himself the best line to work with. A little bit of a wiggle coming from Pascucci outside of the hairpin. That gives a little bit of leeway for Copa Lopez to work with. And you can see the focus of both drivers. Left hand side for Copa Lopez, right hand side for Pascucci. And Pascucci doing a really good job. Is not feeling the pressure way too much. Knows the toe of Bruno Di Carmo is aiding him a little bit. But now a little bit of a wiggle for both drivers to open up the door for the Spaniard to go around the outside here. Somel, Copa Lopez is going to strike, and he's going to maybe be able to do the overtake, but can he seal the deal coming into the Andrade hairpin? The draft is working towards the Argentinian coming to turn number 1.
He's got to work for his money. He's really got to work for that $7 that Copa Lopez right now, being pushed to the absolute limits of this circuit, and you can see how antsy he's getting. Putting the nose on the inside of Roman Pascucci in a sign that quite clearly says, Roman, I'm coming for you, buddy. Maybe not on this particular lap, maybe not on this particular corner, but I sure am coming. And you can tell with that steely look in his eyes that he's got on that camera you see on the bottom left-hand side. That is our race 1 winner, Adai Lopez. Look at how close he is. Look at the momentum he's carrying. Look at the body language he's showcasing in that car. He probably won't make a send right now, but watch when he comes towards the final couple of corners. That's when Lopez might just get his hands dirty for P2.
Yeah, and a little bit of a bump draft between both guys. You're going to see the onboard on the bottom right of your screen of Copa Lopez. Didn't make Pascucci lose a lot of time in the progress, but nevertheless, gap is still stabilized around a half a second between Carmo and Pascucci, and 3/10 between Pascucci and Lopez, and Villarreal not far behind, trying to maintain the best he can towards the toe, because if he loses the toe, there's a good chance of Moreno and Ramos to come in battle for that P4 spot. Outside line for Pascucci, washing himself out of the final corner now. Inside line for Copa Lopez. He knows he's not going to be able to make that overtake, even if he tried to commit himself all the way down to the outside. He knows that, and Copa Lopez took a little bit of a while, took a full lap, but gets P2 nice and clean.
He's a bit of a cold-blooded murderer. He's not the kind of person who will go in front of you and shoot you in the head. He's someone who will let you die slowly, steadily, with more pain and more juice and more energy in all of that. That's the kind of move that Adai Lopez has done. He didn't get it done in one shot, just waited for the right moment and painfully, slowly got that position and made it inevitable at the very, very end. But that's not the only position that we're seeing a battle for. We also are seeing fights for P5 and P6. We are seeing Gerardo Ramos fight up against Daniel Moreno, and what can be said about Daniel Moreno and his fighting spirit? You see, every race that we've had so far today and every single lap that we've seen, there has been some mention of him because he's always been in the middle of the battles, but now it seems like there's a bit of a gap between him and Ramos. But what's that doing? What that is doing, is create such a big mid-pack. And we spoke about this in the qualifying show as well, how we have two particular classes within a class of sorts, and even though the gap is only 3 seconds, the top four are in a league of their own, and then we're seeing all the chaos behind them. And this will be fun to watch towards the very end, because even the top four, not split by much it seems, touchwood.
No, absolutely, they're not. It's like you can argue 1 second is it's a lot, but not actually. You can even see Cobo Lopez's fastest lap, slightly aided by the fact that he had draft from Bruno Ducano pretty much the entirety of the lap. 35.2 is the best lap of the race. Most likely is going to get that additional dollar for the Simify Esports driver. Well, cash it in, Day Cobo Lopez, and that is basically going to be a good day for him. Still more than half a race to go, 6.5 laps left over here. And there's the gap on turn number 5. You can even see the Brazilian covering the inside, coming up the hill. Cobo Lopez cooking him on the outside, a little bit of contact, but up goes the 34. He's going to have the preference going into turn number 6, and then the Ray Hall straight. He didn't even wait for the Ray Hall straight and the corkscrew for him to make that move. That is basically done and dusted. And now Carmo trying to use his experience, coming into the inside late, breaking for the Brazilian number 12. Goes around, makes it in, parks a little bit on the apex, and back goes Bruno de Carmo for the lead. But still, this hasn't ended. This hasn't ended at all, Somo. And they're still going on in strong, and more importantly, they're breaking away from third and fourth.
If ever there was a video dictionary to showcase the meaning of fun, I think this clip would be the living definition of it. Two Toyota GR86s fighting against each other at a circuit as technically challenging and as beautiful to drive as Laguna Seca. And now we escalate that up a notch. Here comes Lopez on the outside, swerves back down to the inside line, and now decides to go against making that move. Because as I mentioned earlier, he is a cold killer. He probably won't strike when the iron's hot, but he'll wait for the right moment when he can painfully, very, very quietly get a position up in the most precise and the most firm manner possible. That's what Lopez is looking for. That one mistake from Carmo. He probably won't barge his way ahead, quite like Diego Villarreal did at the start. He'll just wait and just slice and dice when the time seems right. And with only 5 laps left to go, there probably isn't much time left for Lopez to make that critical move. And I wonder, right, what's going on in his head? Is he okay to cash in with how many dollars must that be? What, at least 14 on paper, and if he ends up winning this, $19? Or does he want to go one bigger and get the full 21? $15 in the paper, or get a full 21.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you got the trifecta for 21, and you get through $2 more additionally for the fastest lap. So right now, so you have both fastest laps right now in the race. So that is up to $23, the maximum you can potentially earn around AMX 1 with the GR86. That's pretty much, hey, it's a good day in my books. I'm not going to complain about that. But with that being said, Bruno, I think for the first time in this race for Cobo Lopez, he might find himself in a really big trouble of trying to overtake a driver, because for those who are not aware, like old school sim racers know that Bruno is a former pro driver. He drove for the iRacing GT series back in 2018. So and Cobo Lopez, you know, drove against the very best in other categories, like I said many times before in this broadcast. But I think this is the first true testament of, you know, being patient, get a driver that has experience in defending. Bruno is a stout defender. You're going to even see close down the inside, not to give a lot of room for Cobo Lopez, but it gives enough room coming into turn number 5 to take the action away of the 34, but he's going to wash out of the corner. And Cobo Lopez is going to have the preference coming into turn number 6, and Bruno is going to basically have to reset himself, find that good exit outside of Ray Hall straight, and try to make that overtake work on the hairpin. Not on the hairpin, but on the corkscrew, but it's not going to be enough for right now number 12 to get around himself.
Man, that move was clinical. That was so well done. Seriously, Lopez with a move to define his day, but then Bruno De Carmo sends one on the inside as well. And guess what? We have a fight. Pascucci is in the middle of it all as well, which makes it a three-way fight for the win with only 4 more laps left to go. Chaos is unfolding right before our eyes in this second heat of the AMX 1 Season 4 race at Laguna Seca. And now, Pascucci, extremely calm as he is right now on video, will be wondering, where is my opportunity? Is it here? Is it near the corkscrew? I've got some time left to get up into P1, but will it be enough considering how hard the drivers up ahead are to pass? I'm somehow firstly amazed that Lopez was able to make a move on Bruno De Carmo, considering how hard De Carmo was defending all the way through. But now, to add a third driver in the mix, to add even more chaos and more pandemonium, with only these many laps to go, bring it on. This is going to be a finish to enjoy till the very end.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. This is going to be very interesting for us to break down a little bit. So, still 3.5 laps to go around the track. You can even see Bruno try to work his lines to maintain the draft. That's the game over here. Maintain that draft. Not far behind. You can even see Gerardo Ramos looming in large against Villarreal. So this battle can reignite itself again. You can see the gas sector by sector coming down slightly, but all those marginal gains over here, will make a lot of difference for Bruno De Carmo to be in an attacking position, because he knows, like a good slot that doesn't get away from the tree branch, he knows that Bruno is not going to get away from that draft that easily.
Yep, absolutely. And now with that one said, Bruno De Carmo asserting himself up on the winner of the first heat, Adai Lopez. Lopez has had a pretty decent run using the outside line to his advantage, but don't count out Bruno De Carmo. He has been a stout defender so far. Now it's time for him to attack on the inside line with a send, but now it's Lopez who bumps almost into him heading into turn 1. It's De Carmo who ends up with the lead, but this one is going to go right down to the wire, and Lopez is on the tenterhooks.
Oh no, there's a spin for the Carmo. I don't know if that was assisted by Cobo Lopez. You're going to have to look at the replay after that, as Pascucci has the way, nearly spins the 34 around. How Pascucci goes into the lead. But the thing is, we know this is not over. We know that Cobo Lopez wants this one back as they go up the hill. 2.5 laps left in this race, and now I don't know if Pascucci said perdón or something like that, sorry in Spanish, because they are talking to themselves, or he's talking to someone else, as they know the fine margins make a lot of difference right here.
Yeah, and that was heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking to see Bruno De Carmo just being tagged off. Was it Lopez touching him in the background? I think it was, yes. His excitement got the better of him, which means that, at least from the naked eye, it seems like Lopez was at fault. And if that is indeed the case, which is Stewards will review, a penalty could be coming, which means that Roman Pascucci, who is the lead under tremendous pressure from Lopez, would end up getting an extra bonus with the fact that Lopez could get a penalty. Keep that in mind, because Lopez is now sending one on the outside line. Oh, he wants it bad. He looks as calm and composed as he possibly can be on that bottom right-hand corner, but still, his driving reflects otherwise. On the outside line he goes. Pascucci has to defend, and guess what? Ramos has also entered the chat. 2 more laps left to go. This is going to be a cinematic ending now.
Absolutely, a little bit of a bump coming into that turn number 3 for Cobo Lopez. Yeah, Argentinian gestures, pretty much. I know how they like to be very emotional. As a little bit of a late braking for Global Lopez as they gonna go up the hill. Going into turn number 6, Global Lopez trying to find that inside lane. He's not going to be able to do the overtake, but he's going to cook the best way he can. As now to go up the Ray Hall straight, a little bit less than 2 laps to go. Already, Piscucci trying to cover that inside line. Global looking for it. As he's going to have to fend off the brakes and remain steady for a little bit more. Now getting the better run outside of the hill. And still covered up by the Argentinian. This could end up in tears, or end up in joy for the Argentinian. It's a matter of how hard he's going to drive and how hard he wants that P1.
Absolutely, that's the biggest question, and you've hit the bell right on its head. You hit the nail right on its head. How hard does Lopez want this position? Clearly, a lot, because he's going almost to the limits of the track to be able to get the best run possible. And now it seems like he has something to respect in the term of his run heading into turn 1. Not the finest line to choose, the outside line, especially considering how much momentum he had on the lack thereof. But now that means that Roman Piscucci on the final lap is leading. And with this, Lopez heads wide. More time is lost and Piscucci has a gap to breathe. Lopez is going to be under tremendous pressure from Ramos, Villarreal and Moreno, who are all under half a second. But Piscucci, with that one minor mistake from Lopez, has enough space to breathe. It's not been the best weekend to be called Roman this time out, but now Piscucci finally having a clear track in front of him to be able to win those $7 and also the pride of winning a race in this hotly contested championship.
Oh wait. There you go. A little bit of a mistake coming from the Argentina. Coming into the Ray Hall straight side by side. It's going to be Zarnardi all over again. Not quite as Global Lopez stay patient. He's going to try to use that exit. He's going to use the downhill. Trying to use the outside run. Trying to catch himself 3 more corners to go. 2 more corners to go. And you have a straight line for you to deal with. As they all try to find themselves up. We know that Piscucci is going to try that inside lane. Already late cover for Piscucci. Global Lopez is going to try to have to use a run. Already a little bit of contact. Spins him around. And the Argentinian is not happy one bit. And Global Lopez is going to be your Heat 2 winner here at AMX 1. Piscucci second and Villarreal in third.
I don't know. That one, I get a feeling, will have to go to the stewards. It all got a little bit too messy for all of our liking at the very end after what ended up being such a fast race, such a chaotic one, that we didn't even realize that 12 laps passed right before our eyes. On the track, it is Adai Lopez sealing a double win, actually a triple one if you consider qualifying as well, and taking home, on paper, $21. But we shall see about the last one, because it got a little bit messy 2 times, didn't it, for him?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to look on the replay, maybe, but there you go. Your session winner, BenQ session winner, Adai Global Lopez for Simify Esports. Roman Piscucci P2, Diego Villarreal in third. Ramos, after the blunder that he had after the hairpin, got 4th place. Still recovered the 1 position against Martin Chico. Roberto De Carmo, what a race could have been for the Brazilian. Unfortunately, he fell down into P6 after the spin on turn number 3 on the second to last lap. Evander Danta 7th. And Paja 8th, Nico Godoy, Mauricio Lozano, Daniel Moreno, Miro Higipi, and Juho Checo Sopanen are your 13 cars for heat number 2. Fastest lap for Adai Global Lopez, the 35 to basically seal the deal for the Spaniard right here. And wow, I'm still trying to reel in what happened in the final 2 laps of the race, as it is back to myself. There you go, and Somo Aurora right here. There you go. I'm putting the finger right this time. I didn't get it the first round. I didn't get it right when I had Connor commentating last time by, but that's what matters. We get it right. We learn from our mistakes. And talking about mistakes, I think it's good that we talk about this race a little bit before we go into AMX 10. We're gonna have a little bit of a break, but coming back, race heat number 2. What a good race it has been. Lean battles everywhere. A lot of respect given to the drivers. I would argue, in my opinion, the first spin, the Bruno De Carmo spin, I think that was more like on Bruno than Koba himself. I think Koba had a better run, and Bruno lost a little bit of momentum after he hit Carb in the car. I think hit the rears first, and the rear, I think, lost a little bit of connection to the ground and caused a little bit of a wheel spin of the car and lost momentum, and the contact was inevitable at that point. But maybe the second contact would have been a little bit different. I think could have gone different. I know Pascucci kind of cooked the corner a little bit, but got away cleanly, covered that inside lane, just in time. But I think Cobo Lopez tried to use the same stuff, and the contact that was eventually made. But nevertheless, good racing between everybody. It is what it is, and Laguna Seca provides us another enticing race.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll be mad at each other. It's just racing at the very limit, and that's what happens eventually. And you must be looking at this going, why are they going so crazy on a random Tuesday night? That's what the series is all about. That's the kind of emotion it evokes out of you when you're competing with drivers at a similar level. And sure, even though the qualifying seemed to have such a big gap between the top 4 and then the mid-pack, in the races, we saw so many drivers who were somewhat P6, P5, P7 in the middle, who were then able to climb up near the podium spots and fight because of all the chaos. And that's what you like to see, right? Light race cars, some fun racing around circuits that are extremely technically challenging, and at the end, a battle that was worth calling the main event. I think that's a good race for us. And the best part is, we've got 2 more races coming up today.
Yeah, we still have Nurburgring to come up into the AMX 10 for TCR, so it's always good stuff, and we cannot complain a little bit. But with that being said, I'll tell you one thing before we go into the break. I know there were not PG-13 words said by the Argentinian. That I didn't need lip reading and everything. I saw from the get-go, and he started saying words. I was like, okay, this is not PG-13. But anyway, it is what it is. It's hard racing. What can you do? It happens to everybody. Even I said a few words during hard racing. It's just that you're going for the win. It is a letdown. But anyway, we're going to have a little bit of a break. We're going to be back in a little bit in about 20 minutes or so for AMX 10, so stay there, get yourself some refreshments, some snacks. We'll be right back with AMX 10 in a little bit.
to feel free. With me.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
All right, so we're back from our break to AMX 10 here in Nurburgring GP for the TCR cars, the week 10 of 12 in AMX Global Season 4. And welcome to this broadcast wherever you are. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Doesn't matter. I know for Sawmill, it's on the transition from good night to good morning. And over here we're transitioning already to evening. A good old evening in Portugal. My name is Lorenzo Bonder. I'm with Sawmill Aurora over here on my left-hand side. And we transition now to TCRs and Nurburgring. I know Nurburgring and TCRs, real life, they don't have a lot of racing together besides Nurburgring 24. I don't think he's been on the calendar of TCR Europe way that much. I was looking at the calendar for the previous years. It hasn't been featured, I think, since 2022 in Nurburgring. But nevertheless, TCR cars and Nurburgring are always a good thing.
Yeah, it is. And when we come here in May for the Nurburgring 24 hours as well, we're also going to be seeing TCR cars around the Nordschleife, which is also going to be quite a fun iRacing special event. But this time, we're racing the TCR cars at the shorter GP circuit that was started initially in 1984. And Ayrton Senna won a really special touring car race there with a Mercedes. So we're racing at this circuit that already has tons of Grand Prix and touring car history. And top it all off, we've got a properly packed grid full of Audis and Hyundais as well. We kind of love the Nordschleife so much, Lorenzo, that we forget sometimes about how good a circuit the Nürburgring GP circuit is in itself, and the fact that we get to see touring car action there, that makes it even more special, I feel.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and the fact that we have these cars going around, and now we can properly call TCRs, which for me is great. I like calling TCR instead of touring cars. Duh, they're the same stuff, but
exactly.
Just saying TCRs is much better than saying touring cars per se. But with that being said, I think we're going to talk more about these track combo and the cars itself. I know somebody's going to take us about that. We got some housekeeping rules to talk about first here at AMX Global. Season 4, like I just said, week 10, January 27th, it's when it started. It ends April 20th, 1st. Prize pool is about $20,000, including next level gear, and it is most races in a year with a variety of car track and combos. The race format is just the same as AMX1 if you've been as from the start. Qualifier is a 20-minute open qualifier with the top 15 having the reverse grid, and both heat are approximately 20 minutes overall. And between the heats, you get a reverse top 15 as well. And the prize amounts are for every standing, same for every session. Driver cams, just like AMX1, are also required by everybody, and you can join them via, AMX Discord or our website. And the payout are also at every balances of 100 month paid out in each month, and the race days, like AMX1, pretty much the same stuff. Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and you can sign up at any time at amxraces.com for you to be part of the action. And the schedule is every Tuesday, Saturdays, and Sundays for AMX 10 at 7:20 p.m. GMT. A good time for everybody to go in, relax a little bit, maybe after work or after your studies, so you to get some racing in your veins going on. The price pool for AMX 10 is a little bit bigger, well, a lot bigger than AMX 1. Qualifying in Heat 1 and Heat 2, the payments are the same except for the fastest lap in qualifying. That doesn't happen, but for P1 is going to get $30, second is going to get $20, then it decrements from $2 all the way down to 7th place, from 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, and then from 8 all the way down to 15 is in decrements of $1, and the fastest lap is $4. Max you can get over here is about $98 in total. The minimal road iRating is 2,000 road iRating sports car or Formula, whenever we have Formula. And the total per race paid out in each AMX 10 race is $500. And there's your top 12 for the time being. Galvaletto from Apex Racing still retains the top spot by a large margin on Adam Vasquez, who last time I commentated on didn't have the brightest of days, just didn't have the luckiest one around GTs and Bathurst. Is in second, nevertheless. Kieran Harrison is in third. Gaston Presaglavi in fourth place, joined by Dino Filippa in fifth. Jacques Sohezende is in sixth place. Fabio Zamperlini seventh. Pedro Jean in eighth. Simon Demore in ninth place. Julian Blainat is in 10th. Peter Zuba and Corentin Guinness are your top 12. And for this event, we have a top 10, that composes start from your second to 10th with Gael Valero, Dino Filippa, Gonzalo Fabi, Gaston Presaglavi, Corentin Guinness, Norbert Leitner, Zlida Nagy, David Perez, and Roman Pascucci are your second to 10th, with the guy on top of the standings, as you can see, the GT Elite right there, is Kieran Harrison from SimRC with a 51-point cushion on the Apex Racing driver. Well, I said too much like I was going to talk about. I think our Karun Chendhawk of Sim Racing can take us to Nurburgring and the TCRs.
For sure. And these two are so beautiful together. The Nurburgring standalone as a Grand Prix circuit has been active since 1984, where Ayrton Senna inaugurated the circuit with a fantastic win in a Mercedes touring car up against Formula One legends of the time like Alain Prost and Niki Lauda. That is phenomenal history to begin with, and I feel this circuit gets lost in the shadows of its elder sibling, the Nordschleife, and people tend to forget how beautiful it is, like the descent down into turn number 1, which is going to be such a crazy place to attack, considering how tight that corner then becomes at the hairpin in the arena, which is a paradise for understeer, which the TCRs develop quite a lot. And then we have eventual overtaking opportunities like the hairpin, like the Schutzschleife basically. You can send one down the inside with tremendous banking, or the fast corners of the Schumacher S's, or the back straight chicane as well. It's got everything, this circuit. And in a TCR where you can barge each other, you can get your elbows out, race hard against each other, and still manage a front wheel drive, a nippy and a fast car. This makes it such a beautiful combination, and there's a reason why I call these cars totally chaotic racing cars. That's what we're going to find out today in 2 heats.
Absolutely. Thank you, Selmo. With that being said, I think we can take it to qualifying and start the action around here at the virtual German track, as we see. Selmo, you might be disappointed, like you said, it's total chaotic racing, but because of fixed setups, I think that this is going to be basically the sea of Audis around the track. They are very fast. Probably in fixed setups, they are the fastest track. I'm just wondering who's driving that Audi RS3 LMS TCR around the track from I want to say from maybe the gloves would be Peter Zuba, but no, that's Kieran Harrison from SimRC. I just saw actually the purple, rear view mirrors on the side mirrors. That's actually his traditional SimRC TCR. 24 years old. His Twitter handle right there below, Key Harrison Racing, part of SimRC for about nearly 3-4 years or so, and multiple champion in TCR categories, in TCR championships, and arguably I'd say Gal Valero is within my top 5. Kieran Harrison also easily within that top 5 for me as well. So we've commentated him a lot, not only in major events in iRacing, but also other leagues as well. We know that this grid, even though it is the biggest grid at the grid in AMX 10, it is going to be top notch from start to finish.
Absolutely it will, and that's the beauty of these TCR race cars. Sure, the Audis might end up dominating, which feels a little bit gutting, and the numbers represent that as well. We've only got 2 Hyundais in what is a 13-car field, which is painful to see because the diversity is what makes TCR racing so special. But regardless, even though it'll be just the Audis, the aggression that TCR cars bring in terms of the racing and the leeway that you can take will remain. Because whenever you're racing a car that's as dicey as a 911 GT3 or a Cup car or something of the other likes, you know that it's dangerous to go elbows out because you might end up crashing or burning yourself out, or the parts might be so disintegrated by the end that you just end up crashing out and there's no performance. Not with the TCRs, which means that the racing would definitely be fun. And looking at the kind of grid ride, drivers like Kieran Harris part of the mix, this will make it such a fun race to watch.
No, absolutely. And as you can see, also Gael Valero from Apex Racing Team, the 28-year-old driver. You can see his handle right down below. Or like what I don't call Gael Valero. I call him JV. For those who know him, I call him JV. I call him JV every single time that I talk to him. Also, one of the main coaches, main setup maker for Apex Racing Academy. All the TCRs are actually handled by him. And also, if I remember correctly, he is one of the drivers that actually competed for the IMSA Esports Championship back in 2023, and nearly got the TCR top spot. I think that was won by Team Redline, as you can see him on the screen right there. No Apple. I'm still let down. We're still going to see the Apple someday make its return on the test right behind this main PC nowadays. But coming back to my point, Somo, as we're gonna see the time go down for Valero. Don't get me wrong. This might be pole, but it might be very, very close. But it's gonna be interesting because Kieran, Gonzalo, Gael, Najee, Perez, Saralege, Norbert Leitner, and Reutemann are guys that I know drive a lot of TCR. So the level is high. Everybody else, I'm not a fan, might not be fans of the cars like Filipa is. Ariel, I'm not a fan of the car, but I know I think he might actually do the Brazilian TCR Championship, which is coming up real shortly. Kieran Harrison's gonna actually do a lap that, gonna top his time by 60 hundredths of a second. Therefore, first guy within the 208s here. Selmo is gonna make things more complicated for everybody, but that's the nature of the car. First few laps doesn't look like it's going to be fast, but once the car builds up the speed, those fronts pick up the heat and things like that. That's when the times come up, down, and down.
You're absolutely right on that point. It's so fascinating to hear you talk about these drivers and what they're liking about this car is, and what you've narrated that story about why this race will be so good because of the quality of the drivers. And I love how you brought that point upon, because we are seeing that at the top of the field. Harrison, Fabi, Valero, Nagy, Perez, and also someone like Valero in the mix. These are good drivers. These are drivers, as you mentioned, compete on a daily basis. So imagine how clinical their moves would be. Imagine the quality of racing that we're going to get to see here. Probably, maybe not as chaotic in terms of the discipline that we saw in the AMX 1 race earlier on. But this could be the class act that we all have been waiting for.
No, absolutely. Not only that, but just to go on to my point, as we see Gonzalo's Fabi's lap, I think the Argentinian is going to make an improvement on this lap. Might actually go for pole over here for the Wave Italy driver. I would say arguably Fabi might be Argentina's #1 TCR driver in terms of being present in the car and getting the results in, being part of Wave Italy with his teammate Manuel Saralege it's good stuff. I know Saralege might not be on the same pace, in my opinion, as Fabi is, because that's what Fabi does. His daily driving is TCRs, so work is scrapped in there. Those 6.5 KI rating might tell you something different. That might not be as fast as the other drivers are. Because if you try to base yourself on iRating, you would be very wrong. This guy knows his deal around the car, and you can even see the guys going around as he's gonna join right in front, I think, of Norbert Leitner right there, or that is actually these are Najee actually that is running out his lap. The improvement on his lap is going to be. Is it going to be a pole setting lap? Doesn't look like there's a little bit of an issue coming down the final hairpin, and gonna lose a bit of momentum and eventually gonna drop down. Actually, a small improvement, but Perez, Filipa, and everybody else doing better laps.
Good to see this sort of close competition so far. in qualifying, with the gaps being very, very, very minute, and the drivers also making the best of it. And within the top, wow, what is it? How many drivers do we have under 1 second? 9 drivers within 1 second of each other in qualifying for the AMX 10 race. And that's because the prize pool is also incredible, right? We've got $500 on offer, so much to win for everyone in this category, including a $30 bumper prize for the driver who wins in each session, qualifying, race, and qualifying at both the heat races, I mean. So it's nice to see the competition. And I can't wait for the race, Lorenzo, because if this is the difference maker in qualifying, imagine how close they will be to each other, and imagine the train racing, and then the chaos and the pandemonium that the key moments will cause eventually in these couple of races, actually, thankfully, that we're getting to see in a few moments' time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting. You still have a give or take around one more fast lap to go around the track, as Kieran Harrison just going into Edvin Bogan for maybe second to last time, and then they're going to round out his lap. Now there's Vidal chicane to deal with, a very tricky chicane for you to get it right, and I think he got a slow down right at the exit out there. He's going to reset himself for his lap, but right behind there's Gael Valero, doing the same stuff, trying to warm up the tires, zigzagging the car the best you can. They know it's go time.
Yeah, that was some mighty tire warming up, which will hopefully be which will hopefully be the preceder of what is going to be a really good lap that we're going to get to see. Only time for one more run, I would suspect, looking at the way the time is up. And it's Norbert Leitner's third at the moment in time. Filippo's fourth, Valero only fifth fastest as it stands. Things are changing fast though, because more fast drivers. Ayrton Reutemann, my word, firstly, what a name that is. That is a name that belongs in the Hall of Fame of racing. But also hoping that his lap time will be somewhat similar as he comes across the final corner.
Yeah, but actually that is not Reutemann, that is actually Ariel. I'm gonna just correct you right quickly over that. I don't know if I think Ariel might not have enough time to set a lap in, as Valero definitely improving on his lap. It's a little bit weird to see Valero struggle with the 209.5, nearly half a second slower than Kieran Harrison is right now on the track. And like I saw comment in our YouTube chat, yes, we're reading that live chat on the bottom, people. That exists. If you drop a chat in, we're reading it, and if you want to give us a shout out, it is always a pleasure to look at. But interesting to see two Elantras on the track. Elantras, I think, on fixed setups being the second car in terms of being the fastest car overall. But I don't think it's on the same pace as the Audi is. Audi on fixed setup is basically the car to go. Like, if you go on official events and everything, it's the car of choice. But with that being said, it's still most of the guys already quitting, as Valero actually goes down on his time. Fourth sector might not be a massive improvement, but still one chicane to go. This is where you can win and lose your top spot. And will it be enough for the Frenchman to go up at the top of the standings, as Kieran Harrison actually improved on this time? 9.68. Time is going to run out, and Gael Valero can improve on his time. No, he's not going to be enough.
Bit of a bitter disappointment for them at the end in qualifying, but that capped off quite a fun 20 minutes as we got to see the cars. But at the end, it was indeed Kieran Harrison taking P1 in qualifying, which means he'll be starting P15 in that reverse grid eventually. That's going to be crazy. But he does take home the first of the big prizes for the day.
Absolutely. We're going to look into the results over here. Ben Q qualifying winner is going to be Kieran Harrison, Gonzalo Fabi second place, Norbert Leitner for third, Dino Felipe fourth, Gael Valero round out your top five. Gaston Colavi, David Perez, Manel Saralegui, Liza Nagy, and Gustavo Ariel are your top 10. Pedro Dean, Aito Reutemann, and Nikodem Wierzbicki are your 13 drivers on AMX 10. Top 15 is going to reverse itself, so that means Wierzbicki is going to lead us out on Heat 1. All right, prediction time real quick. I think we have some time before this green flag. Who you choose as your winner?
No, come on, Lorenzo, don't do this to me. Don't make me choose between so many good drivers, man. You're putting me on the spot.
I'm putting on the
this is
spot
hard one.
already.
I think Harrison. Let's go for Harrison. Let's hope the pole sitter's advantage will mean a lot for him. But I want to see some more competition from the others as well. It'll be good to see some hard battling. What about you, Lorenzo? Now,
Absolutely. I'll pick Fabi. I think Fabi's form lately has just been something else to take a look at as we see the perspective of a lot of the drivers. I think on the top, I could be wrong, might be Wierzbicki. Then you have Ayrton Reutemann. Right down below, you have P3 Pedro Dean, and P4 is Gustavo Ariel. One after the other. The cars are gonna sound off their roars, and we're gonna have green flag. Here we go. 9 laps around Nurburgring for hit number 1, as the Audis are gonna have the better performance. They're gonna launch themselves with the launch control much quicker than the Elantra does. As you can see, Reutemann already going to close down the line. For Dean is actually gonna close down the line on P2. Ariel is gonna try to take advantage. Need to P3, nearly forming 4 wide coming into turn number 1. As Wierzbicki gonna basically retain the lead for Drago Racing. The question is, can he retain for 9 laps? That's the real question as 3 wide forms itself into the arena. We're going to our next section of curves over here into Valvoline. And also there goes Ariel using his Pro Esports experience going to P2 here solo. And with that being said, Pedro Dean is going to have to fend off Reutemann. Reutemann looking on the inside. She might do contact with him. Meanwhile, Fabi Zaralegi actually making contact. There's a contact between Perez and unfortunately, I think that was Kulavi that got involved in the mix with Saralagi, and unfortunately Kulavi ran back all the way down to the backpack in P13, but race still goes on as Flipa now is the victim of potentially an overtake from Fabi. Fabi trying to look for the opening. Harrison's right behind him, but the racing is still showing up to pretty good as now Valera is on the charge against Artem Reutemann. Absolutely good racing between everybody as they go through Evan Bogan. Side by side will be for Gal Valero. Gal Valero won't have the option to try to go side by side. He might actually have to lift a little bit. Last Reutemann go through with that. He said the gap opens up about 1.5 seconds. That is a massive spin at the back. Massive chaos happening between everybody. I see Fabi, Naji, also Filipa going around on the final 3 quarters of this race, and everything just decides to kick off immediately with the Argentinians, being caught up in the wrong end of the second, and maybe I cursed out Fabi in the mess of all things. And that was just lap 1, which is insane to think about, as lap number 2 opens up. The gap between Wierzbicki, Ariel, and Dean is actually 2 seconds to Gal Valero. Gal Valero has 4/10 of a second to Kieran Harrison, so basically going to try to bring himself, Harrison, Saralagi, and Leitner not far behind, and Nagy as well trying to follow suit as the Hungarian duo of Impulse try to go closer. Ariel with a dive on the inside of Wierzbicki side by side. There's contact. Wierzbicki manages to keep the car on the track. Ariel is going to remain on the outside. It's going to slide a little bit. Little side by side forms nearly a 3 wide outside the 4. And with that being said, all that gap they had accrued to Valero is basically all gone. And Wierzbicki is still in the lead of this race with Pedro Dean on the inside. Good battle between everybody, and Ariel just struggling more and more and more. And he's going to lose position to Valero. He's going to lose the position to Harrison as well. Ariel not being able to adapt to the TCR cars as much as he probably wants to in this race if you go to Michael Schumacher has. Still good racing between everybody. It's hard to catch a moment of breath over here and still talk it over what's happening in the race. Mid-pack is still happening a lot of stuff as the gap between everybody is actually very close. The gap between for first place all the way down to the 1 second is actually all the way down to Kieran Harrison's, where you're going to find himself outside the second gap. We can already see Harrison already seeing that outside line, side by side. It's Aralegi and Ariel coming into the Senna, not Senna S, but the Vidal chicane, and somehow Ariel retains his spot. And not being able to do the overtake for the Argentina actually brings the Hungarian duo of Impulse Racing right behind. And that is lap 2 done. Lap 3 on the board, and we start another round at Nurburgring. Fast lap for Valero, 2:10.6 for the Apex driver. Inside for Valero is gonna make the move work on Pedro Dean, and around he goes is Valero now has Wierzbicki on the charge. The do the rest of the job and not get the points and the dollars that he probably wants, as he's in 4th place. Action now turned on into Saralagian. Liner try to get a little bit of a better run. Look into that inside line. Is not going to make the overtake work around Valvoline, and then Ford chicane. Just really quickly, if you have someone that is going to be, your favorite over here to win in this race, drop it in the chat. We'd love to see who you're picking this race to win it. Who's going to be the guy that could surprise you? To drop your comments over here on our YouTube chat or on our Twitch chat. We're going to try to do the best to read them through. As now Wierzbicki is now on the defense against Gal Valero. Drago versus Apex Racing. Still Valero not finding the room to try to make that overtake work. You can see the gaps working for the drivers. Going down, up and down the board. 3/10 was lost the second one by Pedro Dean, but basically captured everything right after as they come down into Bilstein. Bilstein curve now down into Ivan Bogan. Side by side is Wierzbicki and Valero. A little bit of an overlap going Valero's way. Late braking for the Frenchman. The Polish doesn't let through. And now Valero goes into P1 with 3 laps done over here at not Nordschleife, but Nürburgring. I'm not ready to get about the Nürburgring 24. But Wierzbicki still has a battle to go around on the inside, but cannot get the run that he wanted. He's going to use the jab now as Harrison moves into 3rd. Ariel into 4th. Something happened to Fabi. Fabi is going on. So Leggy is already gone as well. Late braking for Wierzbicki inside line. Nearly going full off of the car. Manages to get the move, but certainly Valero is going to fight back around the inside and into the arena. Brings Harrison together, still side by side. Again, we see a 3 wide forming up over here. Not quite. Some contact between Wierzbicki and Valero. Nothing major happening. Nearly 3 wide for me. Actually, there is a little bit of a 3 wide. Harrison goes through on the inside, going into Valvoline. There's Ariel on the outside. He's going to have the preference on the upcoming turn around Ford. He's going to have the better exit. Now Ariel is back into 3rd place. Around Dunlop one more time is all the drivers going around the track. Not everything is actually done and dusted, and everything's settled around the track. Still more than a half of a race to go at Nurburgring, and there's still very good developments around the track per se. Ariel trying to find a little bit of work on the Elantra to try to get closer to Harrison and try to do that overtake. And Wierzbicki trying to do the same thing, using his Audi's, grip and natural strength coming out of the corners to try to stay close. There's a gap that is actually formed between Wierzbicki and Dean, 9/10 of a second that forms up between them. But here we go, top dog battle between Valero and Harrison. Harrison trying to go around the outside. Here goes the Englishman, but not enough gap for him to do the overtake. A little bit of a wash from Valero into the first half of the Vidal opens up the door for Harrison to go through late braking. is going to be for him. Side by side, a little bit of door banging. That's why we normally see in TCRs. And Harrison goes through into the lead in TCRs, but he still has to deal with the straight over here and turn them on. And Ariel not far behind, following suit. Door banging between both of them. They know each other quite a lot in TCRs. And Harrison's going to retain the lead, but there's a little bit of a switch back. Outside run is for Valero. And Valero is going to be able to grab a little bit of a run, but not going to be able to do the overtake. He's going to have to wait around the arena. Looked at to the inside already, blocked by Harrison, and brings Ariel into the fray as well. Three-way battle for the lead of this race and for the podium spots. And not far behind is Rizbiki. And because of all this indecisiveness between the drivers, brings Peter Dean, Norbert Leitner, and Lisa Nagy is as well into the mix. And not far behind, even Felipe Glavi and Fabi has a chance as well. Oh, a little bit of a wash from Ariel into the corner. He's still getting around the car. You can see Brazilian not satisfied with how the Lunch is performing around the corners. Opens up a 7/10 gap between Valero and Ariel. Is still doable for Ariel to race the car. The question is, will he have the tires and the pace around that Hyundai actually to get around and go through? Gap around 0.3 of a second between all drivers. The gap is stabilized around 0.8 of a second between Valero and Ariel. Question is it now a two-way fight? As now you can see Ariel, maybe speaking to Harrison or speaking to someone on his team on Apex Racing side and having some really good fun. One more time around Vito chicane. Once they go around that, it will be 4 laps to go. And Nordschleifer for not Nordschleifer. I swear to Jesus, I'll get these names right. Nurburgring, Nordschleifer. I know they're all the same thing. It's just an extension of Nurburgring, but nevertheless, it's still good racing between everybody. Lap 6 has been open. And I see already bets going on that Harrison, $100 that Harrison might actually take this. Interesting. I mean, it is always good stuff for you to bet money. It is a safe bet, I'm not gonna lie. So I hope that Ashley is able to cash in for whoever put up that bet. And if anyone is actually going on and gonna battle Valero as well, still a lot of race to be done in. As gaps kind of widen between the drivers alongside the top 4, but outside the top 5, there's still something going on. Pedro Dean from Nord Racing not being able to do the overtake and get closer to Frisbeek. He opens up the door for Leitner. Leitner on the inside and goes around the Hungarian for Impulse Racing and ups 1 spot on the Brazilian. Brazilian tried to fight through. There's a little bit of a body damage on the back of that Impulse Audi, and Pedro Dean just like that goes back into 5th place. But Leitner has a little bit of around the gap, or has the edge coming into the Schumacher S. There's a spin, there's contact. Leitner is around 360 no scope, but the damage is done. Leitner fended off to P12 after that incident. And Dean also finding himself into world of trouble too. Outside is for Peter Dean. You can even see him spinning his Audi right there. The tires probably have been shut off to bits. And unfortunately, Pedro Dean also shoved off to P8. The damage is done. He's probably going to lose 2 more spots in the progress. You can even see Perez and Saralagi not far behind. As Harrison now being able to break away, gap as wide as it can be in this race. 3 laps to go, and Harrison leads out by 0.9 of a second. Still a big gap to work around the drivers. You can even see behind now. Dean is going to have to fend off from Perez, but Perez now has to defend from Saralagi. Saralagi with a massive dive on both of the drivers, shows the Brazilian off. and somehow the Brazil Sarlagi is able to cap P8, P9 actually, after that overtake is done, and is able to hold up the position despite the massive dive he's just done on turn 1, and gets the job done. And now we're all attention to Felipe, because Felipe right now has a little bit of a better lap, has more action, and the car looking really good. That Audi RS3 TCR looking pacey. Gap has been, diminished by 0.9 of a second. Glavi is closed out by 1/10, but you can see the ups and downs of this track, a highly technical track, a little bit of a time loss both for Wierzbicki and Nagy. Nagy has a really good run on Wierzbicki. Battle for it is now on between the Impulse Racing driver and the driver of Drago Racing of Wierzbicki, one of the managers of the Drago Racing. Wierzbicki not phased one bit. You can see Nagy perspective on his Audi. You can see the gaps every sector going down the hill just like that. And now Nagy might find the opening right here, maybe. We'll see. Not quite, but kind of like made a snake train of sorts, a big train of cars starting from Wierzbicki and at Gonzalo Fabi. Gonzalo tried to do a recovery run after being, shoved off in the incident at the I would argue at the hairpin, but not quite as best lap done by Kieran Harrison. 209.51 is the best lap of the race done by CMRC, but the CMRC driver of Kieran Harrison. Gap opens up to 1.2 seconds. Basically, this is getting out of reach for Valero at this point on Heat 1. Still Heat 2 to deal with. And Wierzbicki now trying to do his best to retain that top 5 spot. Just outside the top 5 realm is for the Polish driver. You can see not far behind of Nagy, there's a good-looking, angry-looking Felipe TCR. Hello there. Hello there. And on the back of his Impulse TCR, and on the other opponent cam, there's the Polish driver Nico. Then Wierzbicki going around one more time the left and right corners of Valolane and Ford. As Gonzalo closes down the gap a little bit on Gaston Clavi. Maybe the door is open for the Argentina, as Dino Filippi has apparently some connection issues. Comes back into the trap, by that blinkness, might affect the way of the other drivers trying to get around the Argentinian. And I think Filippi knows that. Will he make way as Fabi tries to go down on the inside into Ravenel? Is not able to do the curve properly to try to do the overtake, and also around Bilstein safely go Wierzbicki not fended off by a lot of threat from the Impulse Hungarian driver, as they still have to go one more time. Not this time, this is not the last time, this is second to last time around Vito chicane. The number 33 still retains a quite comfortable but not gap that he can relax a little bit. There's a near contact between himself and Nagy as they all open up the final lap. Kieran Harrison is basically going to win this one, bar the true disaster happening to the British driver of CMRC. Gal Valero is going to be second, and Audio in third. And you can see Nicodem already covered that inside line. Nagy outside lane, braking, go both of them. And Nagy not able to get a run, but might actually get the overlap going to the second corner, but not quite as they get into the AMG arena. You can even see at the back of Nagy's car, Felipe and Guavi and Fabi trying to go around, but there's no room for him to work with. Even Felipe trying to be patient as could possibly be to try that overtake, and he knows that our two fellow Argentinians trying to look for a spot on the board. As Fabi looks into Valolane, he's not going to be able to do the overtake down into Ford and down the hill, going to Dunlop. A little bit of a wiggle coming into the 11 car of Nagy, but he's not going to lose a lot of time with the progress though, and a lot of gap for Felipe to go around and do that overtake. Now up the hill one last time is everybody. You can even see Ariel at the front of the frame, like you can see back of the frame, front of the frame. Going around the chicane, going around the S. One last time around Ravenel, you can see lining up themselves for an overtake. Felipe trying to cook a little bit more into the inside line, try to get a better run on the inside. Najee throwing himself into Bilstein, not enough room. Gulavi now with a mega run coming down into Bilstein side by side is for both drivers. Felipe has to cover the outside, coming to Evan Bogan. One last time for both of them. The gap is very close between them. Harrison, I think, is at the final corner. He's gonna win heat number 1 as now Fabi puts a car on the inside, catches them. Harrison, oh no! Did Valero throw his car off? Did something happen to Harrison? What did happen to Harrison as Valero is gonna win heat 1 here at AMX 10? And Harrison, you can even see, oh, that's not a very pleased Harrison with what happened. We have to look on the replay, and Ariel is going to be into third. Veer Speaky fourth. Najee going to finish out the top 5. Oh my. Session results are going to come up right now for everybody to look at. Our BenQ session winner is going to be the Frenchman of Cal Valero in P1. Kieran Harrison is going to be P2. Gustavo Ariel P3. Victor Viersbicki is going to be fourth. Lija Najee 5th place. Dino Felipe, Gonzalo Fabi, Ronel Salalege, and David Perez are going to be your top 10. Norbert Leitner, P11, Pedro Jean, and Ayrton Reutemann are your 13 drivers on Heat 1. And fastest lap goes out to Kieran Harrison. Well, that's race 1 and done and dusted, everybody. We still have one more heat to go. As soon as they end up this first heat, they're going to line up themselves for a second heat for another 9 laps around Nurburgring. GP layout, you can see already Ayrton Reutemann and Pedro Dean being that car is on the inside line a little bit. You can hear already the turbo coming from the TCRs. Green flag is on. A little bit of a cook from Ayrton Reutemann. Dean with a good start, but more importantly, Leitner with a flashing start. Already putting up 3-1 coming to turn number 1. Leitner already covering that inside from Dean. Dean trying to do the overtake as Saralegi around the outside is not able to do the overtake, but is going to have a little bit of an overlap as 3 wide forms. Contact between Reutemann and Saralegi. Now there's this light contact between Fabi as well, and all that start that Reutemann probably had and the promises he had in this race are now gone. Saralegi's around. I think that was spun by I would argue Reutemann Perez right there that made the contact, and all the chaos is shooting at the back right there because Frisbee lost his spot. It's not just left the spot. Ariel diving on the inside of Valero. Valero covering already that outside line coming into fourth. Been pushed by Nikodem Versbicki. TCR starts to deliver chaos, and it did rightly so. Into Dela for the first time in this race. As you can see, the Saralegi already 4 seconds back the entirety of the pack. And apparently Najee with some troubles on his Impulse TCR. Probably going to lose one more spot as well. And apparently Versbicki catching himself the inside of the Schumacher S. And yeah, absolutely, Najee has some issues with the car. Probably a broken tail link on the rear of the car. That's basically they done for the number 11. And for now, Leitner is going to retain the lead by 0.6 of a second on Pedro Dean, and Fabi couldn't find himself in a better position this race to contend for a top spot. First lap is done as Kieran Harrison goes around on the inside of Reutemann, is able to make that overtake where it kind of shoves off Reutemann around the outside of turn number 1. Down the straight they both go, and you see there, MRC driver Kieran Harrison trying to go on the inside, trying to go for 2 for 2 in this race, and is going to be able to do that overtake. work. Some contact between both of them, but somehow they kept it on the track. Harrison up one spot. Now Fabi around the inside, outside the rear. He gets spun by the Brazilian, and Pedro just retains that P2. Fabi goes all the way back into P6, still retains that the gap. You can see already Reutemann, throwing that car into the inside of Valvoline, and he's going to make that overtake work for the time being. Provisional as bumping and banging around Val Ford. It's both of these guys. They know each other from Argentina TCR leagues. But Fabi from P3 all the way back into P6, and this looking like tragedy. Reutemann and Fabi trying to get into contact, checked up by both them around, and Reutemann now spins Fabi around. Fabi all the way back into P11. At the front, Nurburgring just accruing a 2-second gap to everybody else in the front of the pack. As you can see now, Harrison around the inside of Perez. Perez is not going to be able to defend properly from Harrison's charge. And up one spot for Kieran Harrison. Deeper into that top 5 is the SimRC driver. And Kulavi now is the next victim into Harrison's kill list. Meanwhile, 3 wide at the back, Valero, Filipa, and also Reutemann over there. A little bit of door banging between Reutemann and Gael Valero. Reutemann probably going to find himself in the wrong standings with the stewards. Maybe we'll see what the post-race results will be. But for the time being, he's up in the front of both drivers, of the Impulse Racing team of Liza Nagy and Gael Valero, and we're barely inside the third lap. Now Harrison around the outside. Kulavi has cooked turn number 1. He's going to have that lead on the outside lane, but it's not going to be enough. Still side by side is between Gael Valero and eventually Nagy, but Nagy's going to retain the position for now. Now Perez wants a little bit of a piece of the pie. Goes around the outside. He's not able to do the overtake as the Argentina of Kulavi for SRT Esports. He's going to retain the position. Now Valero with a massive run tries to get that inside lane work for him around Valvoline. It's not going to be enough. And Reutemann seems to be a little bit slow. Checking up the whole field. There's a small contact between both of them, and you can already see the number 12 covering slightly that inside lane. We know that there will be an attempt of a dive coming from Valero, where Reutemann already closing that gap. There's a little bit of a door banging, shows down to the outside of number 12 is Valero. Is going to get the revenge, basically. Fabi as well as Reutemann goes on through. Dean now has to defend from Gary Harrison outside the Schumacher S. And finally, the number 6 overtakes Harrison, and Harrison overtakes Dean. But the thing is, that 2.6 gap to Liner, is it enough for Harrison to actually close down the gap and go for the win? At the back, we see now Nagy trying to fight off against Fabi. Fabi on the inside. You can even see Reutemann trying to have a little bit of a look as well. Door banging between the Wave Italy and Impulse drivers. Still a little bit of door banging. Fabi's thrown off. Reutemann comes inside. Now Fabi tries to come into the inside. Blocks Frisbicki. Brings Saralagi with him. Frisbicki's not even pleased. Causes contact with Fabi. Fabi goes around. Gets spun by Frisbicki and also loses the place to Saralagi. As now you can even see at the back a little bit more action between Frisbicki and, from what it looks like, Reutemann or Saralagi try to get a really good run on them. But every action can still happen around the track. 2.9 is the gap between them. Ariel goes up one spot on Reutemann. Saralagi for Frisbicki and Fabi. Something has happened at the back. It's Kulavi not even pleased with something that has happened. Probably Perez with an aggressive overtake on turn number 1 and 2. Gap at 2.8 between Leitner and Harrison. Still 5-6 lap. I was gonna say like 5 laps, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 6 laps to go, give or take, between Harrison and Liner to see if the British of CMRC is going to get closer and contend for a win. If you think that Harrison is going to win, drop your comments over here on our chat, and we'll see if all that support is going to be enough for Harrison to get closer and maybe go for the win. As Pedro Dean still retains third place, 1.2 separates him from Perez and Calavi eventually, and Felipa as well. You see right behind is Valero trying to fend off Gustavo Ariel on the outside. But for now, Valero holds on through. In charge of the Brazilian, the Portuguese Sports Super Cup race winner this season already of Ariel. Tries to go around the team red line driver, looks for the inside, couldn't work with outside line, is going to be the way to go around Evan Bogan. And now a little bit of a cover on the inside. There was a gap given by him. Ariel with that outside look. Will it work? Oh, Valero, what a move from Gustavo Ariel on Miguel Valero, but 3-1 has been formed. Reutemann tried to powers himself through around the corner. Immediately bumps Ariel outside of last turn. Now you can see Valero door banging against the Argentina. Coming to turn number 1, we can see chaos ensue right here. You can already see Valero being thrown to the outside. A little bit of shove off from both drivers. Dive from Reutemann into that inside lane. But somehow Valero retains the gap. And is going to have the preference coming into the next 2 right-hand, left-hand turns. And there's a spin! And Valero is off after the pit maneuver from Archer Reutemann. And Reutemann is going to eventually lose a position to Nagy as well. We're going to lose now. Maybe we'll see the position 2 for both Fabian and Visbicki, because Fabian and Visbicki had a little bit of a gap to work with, but first is going to be Saralegi to power on through on the Argentina. Dear, oh dear, if we're talking about this race, I think I'm going to pick Somno's words prior to this race. I think they never came more accurately into this race. Total chaotic racing. Still 4.5 laps to go around the Nurburgring as Leitner's gap is coming down. That thing is coming down. One was 2.7 at one point. Now it's 1.8, and it's coming down even more. So there's potentially a battle for the lead brewing in a little bit. The question is, if that thing happens, when is it going to be between Harrison and Leitner? Meanwhile, Filipa trying to get a really good run over here on Kulavi, but is not working so far as he probably wants to. Number 27 kind of like cooks the outside portion of Vito. It's going to open up the door for Filipa to go in the inside. And Filipa up on the spot on Kulavi, and now Kulavi trying to use the run on the final corner to try to get a really good run on the fellow compatriot of Filipa. Meanwhile, still some racing left in everybody. 4 laps to go. Gap at 1.6 between Leitner and Harrison, and apparently there were a little bit of a switchback from the position between Saralegi and Reutemann. And Reutemann being able to defend from Fabi, but the question is by how much is Reutemann able to defend from Fabi, because we've seen that battle, had sparks, had fireworks, had pretty much everything and something else that was added to the mix between both drivers. So this can continue on for the remainder of the race. Going on through gap at 0.3 of a second between Reutemann and Gonzalo Fabi. But the bigger problem is Dean has bigger problems to deal with, as Perez is actually being a little bit faster lap by lap basis. And the Brazilian could actually lose P3 over here in a matter of laps or even corners for the number 48 of Nord Racing. 1.4 now is the gap between Liner and Harrison. We can even see Harrison, around Evan Bogan. There you go, just gone around Evan Bogan, and you can work. Basically, the gap is completely on the visual between the Impulse Audi TCR and the SimRC Audi TCR. Aerial look for Kieran Harrison. Last lap was the best lap of the race, but it wasn't the best lap because of an off track, I think, for Kieran around one of the corners. But this has the promise potentially for the best lap of the race. 1.5 is the gap between both drivers. 2.96 is lap for Liner. 29.4 is for Kieran Harrison. And Pedro Dean 2.10.2, and everybody else in the 9.795 mix. So the life of Pedro Dean can become a living hell moving forward, as now all this 3-pack has caught up to the Brazilian, and Pedro now has to think about defending against Perez, Felipe, and Kulavi. Outside the arena, they go for a third to last time. And now the eyes are on Gustavo Ariel defending from Nagy. Nagy with a better run than the Brazilian. The team red line on the previous lap, but not able to do the overtake, as there's still some work that needs to be done by the driver of the Impulse Racing team to get closer and try to do the overtake. But I think Ariel just cooked outside of Ford. Might bring Nagy to try to do that overtake. That a dive down on Dunlop is open. Will Nagy commit to it? He does. Side by side is both drivers at 9 and 11. Ariel getting a good run on the outside line. There's still some overlap to work with, but Nagy manages to go for the overtake successfully on Gustavo and Ariel. Ariel tries to go around on the outside lane, side by side. Nagy cooks around Ravenel and opens up the door for Bilstein for Ariel to go through. Ariel back into 7th place, as now the gap between Dina Perez that is as close as it's ever been for 3rd place. It is only 0.3 of a second to separate the Brazilian from Nurburgring Racing to David Perez in the 95 machine. Lap 8, second to last lap of the race. 209.353 is a lap for Leitner. 208.991 for Harrison, but I think that was his off track that didn't make it the best lap of the race. And 210.060 is for Pedro Dean. The question is, can we retain that? Can he speed it up? Can he do something to, retain a 3rd place to Perez? Because Perez is looking really feisty on that Audi. And wants all the marbles potentially to get around through. Valero apparently with 30 seconds still reeling in from the spin that he had early on in the race. Unfortunately, to see that happen, I think that was, again, if I remember, it was against Fabi that he had the spin. And just everything happening. Actually, it was Ayrton Reutemann that had the spin on him on turn number 2 going into the arena. One and a half laps to go. It's still a lot of race to be done over here in Nurburgring, virtual Nurburgring, for the second heat of AMX 10. Week 11 and week 12, so we're rounding out our season 4 over here. And but you still can sign up at amxrace.com for the remainder 7 races, 8 races of the season that we have left on for everybody to race on over here at AMX. But Pedro now gap is basically non-existent. 1/10 of a second is Perez on Dean. Dean is going to have to find ways to defend the best way he can. Last lap is going to open up really shortly. I think both Leitner and Harrison have gone through the Vidal chicane, and it's going to open up the final lap. 7/10 separates Leitner to Harrison, and the Harrison commitment like a madman walking. 6/10 is the second, is the gap now to Leitner and Harrison. There's a good chance the final lap has been opened up. 2.94 is the for Liner 590. Best lap of the race for Harrison one more time. Not the best lap in his stint because we know he's done an 8. Perez looking on the inside though, not able to do the overtake work. Make the overtake work around the 48. 48 is still going to retain that inside lane for the next 2 corners. That's important. You need that track position. So Pedro inside line in 1 time. 2nd time, he's going to retain that inside line. And Perez not being able to go around. He's going to try to get outside of the arena with a better run on the Brazilian. How he goes. And will he look for that dive on the inside? Coming to Valvoline. Doesn't look like he's cooking all the way down to Dunlop. Checks up because otherwise he's going to crash Pedro. Pedro manages to survive 2 more corners. Now has to fend off on Dunlop. Manages to clip the inside part of the curve. Now difference is basically visual. 4/10 of a second. The gap is basically non-existent between Liner and Harrison. A few more corners to go. Arias gets spun by Nagy. Eventually loses 2 spots. Go all the way back to 9th place as the Brazilian. And now Harrison getting through. The question is there enough track for the CMRC to go through? Now 4 corners to go, basically. First part, Evan Bogan. Gap at 3/10 of a second. Already covering down the middle is Liner coming into 2 more corners. Around Vito. Left hand side, right hand side. 7/10. Harrison kind of cooks. Dean loses the position to Paris. Paris goes into 3rd place. And there's contact. Felipe on the inside. Dean tries to go around the outside. And with that being said, Norbert Liner is going to be your Heat 2 winner here at AMX 10. Kieran Harrison 2nd place, and David Perez is going to be your 3rd place. Dino Filaba 4th, and Pedro Dean holds Gustavo at the Colavi at the line. And Arios, they just going from bad to worse on heat number 2 as he's going to finish 10th place after losing the spot to Gonzalo Fabi here on heat 2. With that being said, we're going to go to the race results over here for everybody to take a look at. Well, the results are basically, at the front they're basically final. At the back, we're still going to see what is going to happen going up and down. As I think there's one more driver yet to do close out the proper lap, and then we'll get to official results over here in a quick bit for everyone to take a look at as we look into aerial pictures of the virtual Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit, or the GP Strecke, so to speak, as I think only Valero is the only car left on the track for him to do the move. Final corners for JV as JV goes around the final corner one more time. What is an off track for JV? I think he's just in having fun for the time being. One last time, and there he goes. Gal Valero is the last car around the track, and there you go. All of your 13 cars have clocked the lap around the Nurburgring. Norbert Liner is your Ben Q session winner at Heat 2. Kieran Harrison is your 2nd place. David Perez is in 3rd. Dino Felipe in 4th. Pedro Dean 5th place. Gaston Colavi is in 6th. Lisa Nagy 7th. Manuel Saralegui in 8th. Gonzalo Fabi 9th. And Gustavo Ariel are your top 10. Ayrton Reutemann, Nikotin Viersbicki, and Gal Valero are your 13 drivers that also finished in this 13 car heat here at AMX 10. With that being said, I think we're going to go to interviews, right? We have some guys to talk about in this race. So I think we're going to bring Norbert Liner first for our interview. And with that being said, let's get around them because we have a lot of guys to talk over here at AMX.
not going to be able to come over here. So let's bring David Perez. He's never been featured.
So I think we probably have some technical issues that not gonna be able to maybe interview drivers for the time being, but we're still trying. A little bit unfortunate. There are so many guys I wanted to talk to about this race. I think a lot of has transpired on these two heats, especially Heat 2. I think Heat 2 had. I'll try to use something that is becoming quite popular in food terms. It's becoming a very spicy kebab, if you want to think about it. You know, where the spice is basically, you know, flaming around your mouth and everything. And oh boy, what that Heat 2 kind of like brought up to everybody was just something for us commentators, a sight to behold of sorts, because they were commentating a lot of action, but of course a little bit. I know drivers are probably going to say way too aggressive in my point of view, but anyway, that's TCR racing for you. Solmo, I think, summed up perfectly. Total chaotic racing, but let's hope maybe in the future endeavors we can actually have our drivers, coming in for interviews. Of course, just technicalities of the sim racing world that just make it a little bit more complicated. I think that's all for today here at AMX. We're going to be back on Saturday. Of course, we still have more racing this week at AMX. We're going to be back Saturday 13th. Not Friday 13th, Saturday 13th. Let me just get this straight. As we're going to have NASCAR, the classic class, the 1987 class around Phoenix Racing is going to be a very interesting race. The legacy one, not the one with the dog leg. And also GT4s at Spa-Francorchamps, 8 laps around there for AMX 10. It's going to be quite interesting to look at this one. But on behalf of everybody, at AMX, I've been Lorenzo Bonder. I've been with Somel Aurora on commentary. And we'll see you this Saturday for another round of more racing here at AMX Global.